Hi, my name's Maggie Dietrich. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland.
My name's Jalsi Sang. I'm from Palo Alto, California.
My name's Joshua Carroll. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee.
Hi, I'm Matt, and I'm from Reno, Nevada.
I'm Mitchell Hawkins, and I'm from Olympia, Washington.
Oh, I'm Patty, and I'm from Elk, California.
I'm Maisha Davis, and I'm from Los Angeles, California.
I'm Jean DeHaan, and I'm from Portland, Oregon, and we're all first-year med students at UCSF.
So, I guess we're all here to tell you that it does really get better. I was 14, I was living in the South. This is like before there was internet, before there was YouTube, like this video did not exist. Like, I didn't even see gay people on TV, and I was so alone. And for me, coming out it felt like a matter of survival. I felt like if I didn't, then I was just gonna just wither and starve. When I came out, I thought that it was just like that, like my life was, gonna get better. But it doesn't. It takes a while. Coming out was hard. And the time after coming out was oftentimes even harder. Like, I wanted what everybody else around me had. I wanted a boyfriend. I wanted, to have all those things that you have in high school, and it didn't happen right away. And I felt frustrated. I did theater and choir, and I found all of these, things that, fulfilled me and sustained me, and met other kids like me, in different high schools. And over time, I had these friends and, community. It got better. Like, I don't feel so miserable anymore. And now that I live in San Francisco, the gayest city in the world, I don't even need to tell people that I'm gay. It's just that, I can just talk to them and be myself, and they know it, and it's assumed, and it's not a bad thing. It's the way that it is, and you'll get there. It takes a while, but you will.
So growing up, I actually had a lot of friends, was really happy, played sports, but I always sort of had this secret, or sort of knew something was different about me. In my senior year in college, I really started questioning my sexuality, and I became really depressed. I stopped hanging out with my friends, I didn't really do anything anymore, but I was too scared to talk to anyone about it. I was scared to take on a label that I didn't feel like I fit. And I wrote in a journal a lot to help me get through this time. I remember reading one segment that sort of scares me. I wrote that I think it would be easier to jump in front of a train than to come out. And so that was definitely a scary time in my life. But eventually I did talk to my best friend and came out. And instantly, things were so much better. It was a huge relief to get that off my chest. And I started telling more of my friends and my family. It took a little time for my mom to come around. She definitely grieved the loss of a future she had envisioned for me. But just this past year, she actually told my girlfriend that she loved her. So it definitely gets better, gets a lot better. So hang in there.
Hey everyone, I'm Matt. Like I said earlier, I'm from Reno, Nevada. My high school had 2 gay people in it. I was neither of them at that time, and I kind of actively chose to stay in the closet because violence was actually very common, both physical and psychological. Just knowing kind of deep down in my heart that probably I was gay, but just not being able or willing to kind of tolerate that within myself, knowing that the only gay people I saw were tormented basically on a daily basis. It was really terrible, and I eventually left and I moved to a larger place, but I had kind of taken on this persona of being a straight person, and it took me almost 5 years after leaving to kind of start to be able to accept this within myself. It was still really terrible being in the closet and being something that I'm not, and it was so lonely, and I had girlfriends, and it just was wrong, and it was just a really sad place because there was this part of me that just couldn't be a part of my life, and nor could it be a part of the people who I care about's life, my parents or my friends, all of whom I was sure would have been fine with me being gay, but I couldn't accept it within myself. And it's a long road, it's a very long road, but taking that first step within yourself is such a big step, and it does make things better, even before coming out and before everything else. Just being able to accept this within yourself. The world's your oyster, and you just got to kind of grab it. And I really wish I'd done so earlier. So it gets better.
So my name's Jean, and I say I'm from Portland, but I actually grew up in Salem, Oregon. It's got some wonderful things about it, but at least when I grew up there, it was really difficult as a 14-year-old to find anybody else that identified as queer in any way. I came out when I was 14, and I was the only out person in a high school of over 2,000 kids. And when I say I came out, it was kind of like no one was surprised. And I said, "Oh, hey, I'm gay." They're like, "Yeah, okay." So I never really had the option of being in. And it was difficult. You know, some days were worse than others. I also got involved with theater and music and was really into what I was studying, so I had sort of these areas that I could focus on. And there were times where I had stuff thrown at me in the hallway, or, you know, was followed leaving school, and keeping my eye on the fact that I wasn't going to be there forever. I actually graduated in 3 years to get away from it. And so I knew that if I just focused and studied and did what I needed to do to get into college, that I would quickly forget who these people were. And I have. And as soon as I got to college, it was like wonderland. I went to Reed, which is this little college in Portland, and there were so many queers there. And I feel like even the people who weren't queer wanted to be queer. So it was like, if you were queer, if you were practicing queer, you were cool. Yeah, it definitely does get better. And I think that if you could say, if you could do the worst thing you could possibly do to me, it would be to tell me I could not be gay anymore. So happy I'm gay. I feel bad for people who aren't gay. Keep your chin up. It's all right. It'll be over, and you'll get to hang out with amazing people like these folks.
Okay, so I'm Mitchell, and like Jean, I say I'm from Olympia, and I actually grew up in a little logging town like 30 minutes away. And it was a really sad town. It was like a one-plant town, and the plant had closed. It was really depressing. And, you know, it was like me and a bunch of like lumberjacks. I worked at Planned Parenthood as like a volunteer, and I was a little kid, I guess I was like 14. And I came out to one of the women that worked there, and I was like, you know, I'm this little 14-year-old gay, and I had one other friend in high school who came out the same time as me, so I sort of felt like it was me and Chris all alone. And I was lamenting about how there were like no other gays in this Shelton town where I grew up. And she was like, "What are you talking about? There's gays all over the place." And she was like, "George is the homosexual." And I was like, I was shocked because George was this like 72-year-old man who worked there. It just never occurred to me that there were like old gays, like this old 72-year-old gay. And he actually became this huge like mentor for me, and like gave me a lot of advice about applying for college and sort of getting out of that town. Like finding an adult that was a homo that could like help out and give advice and they could talk to was really important. So, I don't know, just taking the chance and coming out to adults in your life that you trust, whether it's a teacher or like a coworker or whatever, I think is really important.
Hi, I'm Maggie, and I came out as a bisexual when I was 22 years old. And I think I was really lucky because I had a lot of friends who were already out. It just made me think a lot about community, and we've talked a little bit about community already on this video. Think about it as a no-brainer. I don't really think that it would be a very angsty process for me because so many other people around me were so comfortable with their outness. And I think the point of this story is that you can find people like that everywhere. And if you are out, know that you're an inspiration for people who aren't. So even though it can feel hard for you, it's a really good thing that you're doing for your friends. And here at UCSF, I still feel surrounded by a really loving, supportive community just in the same way, and feel really lucky that that's been my experience.
Like, no matter where you go, you have a family. You know, like when I moved to LA and I started school, making friends wasn't a problem. I mean, you just find the gay people and like just by default, you're friends and you have family and you're really close and you have sort of this experience and implicit understanding amongst each other that I don't think, you know, straight people have. The people that I'm sitting with here, you know, are like my newest example of how that works.
We'll come back to that.
Secret visitor.
Sorry.
Yes. Yay.
Sorry.
You can lay down on top of
Yes.
the
Oh,
process.
stretch out.
I think one of the best things about being gay is that the expectations that are set for you are basically non-existent. You can really write your own narrative and do your own thing. Really, the gay narrative hasn't been written, or it's so different for so many different people. And if you want 2 kids and a dog and a white picket fence, you can totally do that. But if you want to put on punk shows or have 20 chickens and 6 cats and a farm, you can do that. Like, everyone's got their thing. You don't have society telling you necessarily what you need to be and what you need to do. And I think it's a really positive thing in my life, being able to kind of do my own thing and not have expectations really set for me necessarily by society.